Epic time is here. Welcome, everybody. It is crazy times. I had time to take a shower. There's my hotel in the background, but I came out to get my computer and realized I don't have any time to spare. So I was either going to do the show from a desk in the hotel or not get a shower. And when I say I needed a shower, I think I really needed a shower. So I chose the shower and I was shaving my head here and I biffed some hair here. So I think my mohawk is a little bit higher in the back than it was meant to be because my shower looked like Mandy's bathtub floor when I got done after she got done shaving her legs. So there was a little bit of hair here and there. And I don't know what to say. So if you see me in Woodstock and I'm missing a chunk here, they're not divots out of my head. They're just a little misadventure with the razor when I was in a hurry. So I'm trying to look good. I haven't seen my wife in a hot minute, and she's meeting me like the old days, running off, meeting at a hotel, except we've been married for 33 years and it's not so running off. But anyhow, we're here. I was trying to wolf down some food, lightly salted almonds, so my doctor doesn't get mad because she tells me I have blood pressure's a little high and I got to take some medication. But guess who can't find that? Somewhere in here. But so my blood pressure meds got taken like every other day. So I'm sure my blood pressure goes down, and I take a med, it goes down and then down. And so I don't know. I need a babysitter, I think. But anyhow, I am here and we're going to get going on sharing some things, popping this up. But the first thing I want to talk about is, um, you know, pulling somebody up on here and see where they are. Looking, Teeter. There's Teeter. I don't know if anybody saw my video before when I was yelling, "Where's Teeter?" Teeter. Well, Teeter is on 24 right there, and 24. If you check, there are probably not a lot of other riders on 24 as he's rolling up, crossing over into Illinois right there. You can double check, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of people on 24. And that's because Teeter got a speeding ticket. And then he kept rolling along a little bit. And then he decided that, you know what? His beautiful wife flew to Woodstock. And she is there right now. And she was waiting to, cheer him on. Yay, go Teeter as he comes across the finish line. And then he got a speeding ticket. And then he weighed his options and he thought, well, I can keep rolling and cross the finish line and then hand the ticket in. Or I can take my ticket and let people know right now, have some roadside integrity, and then bolt up to, Woodstock to see his wife. So I think had he had an ugly wife, he might have rode this thing out all the way to stay away if she was one that, likes to nag and yell and, wasn't so easy on the eyes. But his wife is super nice and has a great sense of humor. So he decided he's banging up to Woodstock right now to get up there and have some fun. So I really think that tomorrow night we're going to see some quality Teeter time. And if you're unfamiliar with how Teeter got his road name, I think if you're around the bar at the hotel tomorrow night, I think you're going to have a little better idea how that came about. So there's Teeter. And as long as we got Teeter up there, we can check on Ridgeway as well, because unlike Teeter, he is on a highway that is supposed to be ridden on. So Ridgeway looks like he's doing well. Everybody is making their way back to the checkpoint. Right, where is it? Right in here. There's Henry. Where's Henry sitting? He's camped out. Oh, taking a second to get caught up here. There we go. There is the dealership right there. So Henry is there. I would guess these people are just going to hang out until the end. Wherever they were in their journey, they decided, you know what, to hell with this. I'm going to Woodstock for the party and not hammering out any more of these roads. And I honestly thought that was gonna be the case. A lot of people, when you have the start and the finish and the middle at the same place, there's many years that somebody crosses the finish line and people are at the halfway point. So there were going to be people here anyhow, and I think it's going to be very hard to get motivated to go do another 6,000 miles when people are showing up and you're having fun and doing all that. So I think people will be turning and burning. That was just a guess I had, that they were going to be working their way, that way. So, I don't know. There's great. Teeter is watching. Been waiting 10 days to act like Teeter, So that's going to be fun. I can't wait to see you. I was hoping to get over there today because I really wanted to be there if anybody crossed the line. But getting from Sturgis to Illinois, when I had to get tires on a truck, it was just not what I had planned, and it's just complete chaos. So I had to get tires on my truck, brakes on the truck in Sturgis, and 4 tires on a trailer. So it's been a little bit chaotic, to say the least. But we're watching these people rolling in. Let's see what kind of country little old Nancy is ripping through. Farmland. That means it's fast roads. They don't farm in the mountains. This looks all, trees and, river creeks, things like that. But they don't see a lot of farms and crazy, twisty, mountainous roads. So this is going to be, like, the challenge is a marathon. It is long and grueling. And at the end of every marathon, people dig as deep as they can to pound out as much as they can, as fast as they can. And I kind of think this is going to be that time. If you're going to get after it, you got to get after it pretty quick, because right up here is where they're ending. Now, it's not a direct route, so, it's not like they're going to, straight shot it right up. But it's getting to that point that there's not a whole lot of places they can send them. And if you remember where the first group and the second group went, you'll know that from here, they don't have a long ways to go. So they are definitely getting in, I would guess, day 13, which will be tomorrow. So they're going to have 12 days and X amount of hours as finishers. And I think that's pretty awesome because, the last time I could compare this to was 2018, that had a technical road and really beat people up like this. And this, I think, is a little harder, and just by the technical end, but it's also 1,200 miles further, and 1,200 miles of grueling, tired riding is a long ways. So my hat's off to anybody that can get in on whatever day you're coming in, you're getting in. But there's Nancy. There is a Dirty Dan right there. Yos is up here. Pee Wee is right here. Pee Wee's after Yos. Dirty Dan is after Nancy. So you kind of get an idea. You get some other people sprinkled in that are on the other one. Here comes Ren. Everybody, you followed Ren for a long time. And Brian Kern, they've been kind of steadily right there in the number 3 spot. But those 1 and 2 have really opened it up for that southern crew. And these are the people that came from the north. And Yos, man, my hat's off to that dude, man. He has been after it from the very beginning. And I've been a big fan of his since I met him 2 years ago. I met him in the 24 Hokahe, and I got to know him a little bit. Not like we're buddy pals. We're not going out to dinner, on the weekends, but I'm friends with him. I love his story, and it was awesome in 24. He was either 18, 19, or 20. There were 3 of them. They all came in together. I don't know what technically he came in. And I think, people missed an opportunity to capitalize on a great story. And he had a great story to tell. A Cuban kid from Miami, never ridden in the north, never had heated gear, never been in the cold. And those Cubans made it through that cold, made it to Alaska. And it was cold going through Alaska. Like, a lot of us had heated gear on, including myself. And I was damn happy to have it. And they didn't have anything. They suffered through it. They made it in 18, 19, and 20. And then that was it. They didn't get recognized at all at the party. And I mean, no one did. But anyways, I thought their story was a great one. So I'm really happy to see that he's worked on his game, practiced some things, dialed it all in, and he's really getting after it. So fun to watch that. Fun to watch, the next group of youngsters that can really, apply all of their skills to something so epic. So that's pretty badass. And you see the group back here. Chrisman must be hiding back here. Is Chrisman right there? That's his color. Nope, we got Frankie there. So there's Beastman right there. Let's see where. I'm going to just type it in. Chrisman. There he is. He is in West Virginia. West Virginia. How did I miss him? Is he with somebody else and I just didn't zoom in enough? Yep. He's with Smiles there, so he kind of blends in a little bit. But they're doing good. And, I don't want to forget about these people out here that are still getting after it, still killing it. Shit, I forgot to share that thing again. Looked over and saw my phone sitting there with a reminder on it. So I'm going to share something here quick. So entertain yourselves looking at my tracker while I'm doing something here. And I'll kind of keep babbling too. You'd think after 19 of these shows that I would get more of a kind of muscle memory, but I think my brain's a little smooth and it's not as muscly, so that memory is not quite there. So I see somebody already shared it, so thanks for that. If you're sharing, you're caring. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Boom, boom. Oh, these people are, they're in the same groups anyhow, but I'm still going to put it out there. Done. And one thing, I was really worried about, not really worried about, but one thing I was thinking about was, how much the weather was going to play a factor on, if the two groups were coming into the finish line and, finish line's here, right there. So I was thinking if there were some bad storms, because coming across South Dakota, there's been storms. The front really came across, but I looked at it today, took a screenshot. This is it. As you see, here's the finish line up here. And yeah, there's some rain up in that area, but that's really nothing. They're all coming up. The people that are, in it to win it, they're going to be coming through here. And it doesn't look like they're going to get anything, so it's nothing. These people that are back over in this side of it, they're going to get a little suck to their day, to their night. But if anybody bails on it tomorrow and decides we're just riding to get to the party and want to hang out back to their cars, their trucks, their wives, their boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever the case is, they're going to get through some water. But at the end of the day, like at this point, does it really matter? I mean, if you can't take the weather, whatever Mother Nature sends your way, like you're not going to be in it to win it. You're not going to be, you're not your Nancy, your Dirty Dan, your Yos, your Ren, Pee Wee. It's just not the case. So, but there's Teeter. He's He's making his way north. And I did want to show you guys something because we were talking about it while it was going on, but now people are done with it. But if you want to look, let's see, where are we? Am I in the right place? Yes, I am. Right here, Houghton, Michigan. My cousin went to college here, so I'm a little familiar with it. But if you remember the directions, this is where my, I got to get this to the stage, so you're not just looking at me. I'm sitting here talking. Right here, Houghton, Michigan. Those directions told people to take a right on 41. And this is where Iceman and Teeter, who I watched go straight here, and Iceman was in the lead, if you remember. Iceman got down on 41 and then had to turn onto 28, which is somewhere in here, I think. I think it's this road, but that doesn't really matter a whole lot. But his direction said, take a right on 41 and go down 100 miles. But he had to do that at 100 miles. Well, this right here was at 50. So a lot of riders came to 41. It says at 100, but it was at 50. So they went straight just like Teeter and Iceman did. And then they got to 28 over here, and it said at 50 miles, take a left on 28, or at 100, I mean. And that wasn't the case, because at 50, they got to that same turn it was saying, but the mileage was wrong. And this is the part that's interesting, and this is where Iceman decided, you know what, maybe that wasn't wrong. And that's exactly what happened. This is how tricky this route is this year. They had to stay on 26 until they got to the 100 miles where they could take a right on 41. So you pass by where you could take a right on 41, stay on 26. If you're watching it right here, you go across that little water in Houghton, you take a right, and you stay on 26. Now for the second time, they run into 41 if you stayed on 26. But you're not to your mileage, and there's no way to take a right on it. 26 and 41 share the same road right here. All the way up, and right here, 41 and 26 intersect again, and 26 goes to the left, and they're still supposed to be on 26. They follow that along the water, and magically right here, it's 100 miles, and you take a right onto 41. And now you're back on track. You're back all the way down. You keep following 41 all the way down, and then eventually 100 miles, you're going to take that left on 28, and you're on track. But if your mileage, if you just thought the map was wrong, you made your mistake. And I tell you what, there was people that came across here, and I tell you, there's people that are in the top 10 in, won't say what group, so in the top 10 of both groups that came across this river right here, and instead of staying on 26, they went on 41. And they took 41 all the way to the top, got to Copper Harbor. Now their map is like, got to be on 41. So they just made a U-turn, stayed on 41. Never did the 26 when they crossed that water. Never stayed on 26. When they went across this river, they should have went right. They went left. It made sense in their mind, but it wasn't right. And that's what happened to Big Balls Matt. Big Balls Matt was one of them that came just like Iceman and Teeter and made a turn there, got all the way down, and then when he got going here, took a left here, worked his way on 28, and just kept on going. The mileage never added up. It was wrong out of the gate, and Iceman got a map out and started just double checking it and figured out, you know what, that was right. You know, the map was right. The directions were right. Big Balls Matt let it eat at him for a while, and when he got his atlas up and was double checking his route, he was down here, which the fastest way to get back there was to go the highway, which goes right around. You go back up this way and you got nothing but pain in the ass to get there. So that was crazy, you know, a little trick to it. That was one spot, and I don't care about talking about this now because it's past. There's nobody there. If Mac is going to pull ahead and win it because he watched my show, I don't think so. So there's that, you know. And there was one turn here that was another tricky one where this is where all the riders ended up going into Minnesota. You should have never went into Minnesota. There's nowhere on your directions say go to Minnesota. But the map was wrong, and it's one of these turns right in here. I don't remember exactly which one because they have letters and all that. But you were supposed to take a right, and the direction said go straight. If you take a right on it instead of go straight, everything works out just fine. But if you go straight, then you're going to be wrong, and that's why you saw people all around here going everywhere, but a few of them kept going straight, and they ended up on this road right here. And that was wrong, and that's a pain in the ass, and I felt bad for them because when you get over to Minnesota, I'm from here, I know this area well. When you get over to here, it's a pain in the butt to get back. That little bit, you think, oh, that's close, but none of these roads have entrances coming from the way you went back onto it. So they went down around, milled through town here, and worked their way back to 2 and came around through Superior. A lot of people did that. I saw one group of 3, and I think they must have been talking and said, you go this way, you go that way, I'll go this way, and let's figure it out together. Because out of the group of 3, one went across into Minnesota, one went right, which ended up being the right way, and the other one went left. So there was like a bike over here, one up across into Minnesota, and one sitting there waiting at the right place. So out of the 3, however they decided that that person was going to go right, they lucked out, because if you're the one that ended up on the wrong side of the river, man, that's just total suckville. So that's pretty good. But when Iceman and Teeter went back, when he went back, there were several riders that I watched go right past them. And I started laughing, and I thought, somebody's wrong. Like, when you see 2 riders going past each other, if it was nighttime, so they probably didn't even notice that it was another Hoka Hay rider. But in the daytime, when you see a Hoka Hay rider go by you, you're like, what just happened? How is that possible? And that's why I was really laughing today at this. I wanted to get a picture. This is a funny picture talking about the same thing. Let's see if I can share this right here. This is earlier today when Dirty Dan and Yost went right past each other on the route. So they go past each other, and I'm sure for a moment the 2 of them went, who the hell was that? And why are they going that way? And I don't think they've seen a lot of other Hoka Hay riders, but that means they're all doing it. And when it gets busy, they'll be all over the place. And that's just a mind wrench when you're going one way and the other Hoka Hay riders are going the other. So that's just a little bit nuts. And I did like that aspect of it. It's hard to enjoy it, as much as I want to, because it's really hard to follow this chaos of a screen here. I mean, there are riders, and now it's not even the route. When they call and say, I tap, I'm out, they're not taking them. Oh, sorry about that. They're not taking them out in a timely fashion. So a lot of these riders aren't even riding. They're going home. They're at home. They're traveling to home. They're traveling back to the party, whatever. But, when they tell them I'm out, they don't just magically, disappear. Like, they have to turn it off. And I'm not sure if the tracking thing has to be closed. Like, I'm not talking to anybody yet who's in charge. I'm just reporting what I see and, showing off some amazing people. That's all I'm doing, and trying to promote a charity and having some fun with it. But I don't have any idea what people are, how they're doing it. So if you ask me the questions, I'm going off my personal knowledge. I have no connections with the board, with Beth. I talked to her because she called to inform me that somebody crashed, that was riding for the Monsters. But that's the extent of my conversation with anyone that has anything to do with making the final decisions. I know what I was told going into it, and I know what some of the riders were told. Different people have relayed things to me. I've talked to people that are not Monsters, and, I've gotten some info that, I thought was a little odd, that some people were getting texts that they had, that they should check their route, and that's coming from the organizers. So I don't know how that works. I've never got that in 400 mistakes. I probably made 1,000 mistakes in the 4 rides I've done. I've never once got a text saying you might want to check your route. You might want to look at where you are. You might want to check your map or whatever. I've never, ever gotten that. And I don't remember really hearing that. So if somebody did, that's in previous ones, that's news to me. But they're definitely getting them on this one. So if they're watching enough that they know if somebody should check their route, then they know somebody is off route and missed it. So I don't know how the validation at the end is going to work. I heard that they were going to wait to announce the actual winner until everything was validated. But if you're watching it as it's happening and you can tell somebody they should check their route, well, then I would assume you can check the people as it's happening. that are out in the lead and know if they've broken any rules, if it's legit. So when they come across, you can wave a checkered flag and say, yippee, you won. Or guess what? You're over in Suckville because your Suckville just turned to, oh shit. And you missed that part I was talking about. So I'm anxious to see how that works. I'm anxious to see how they, make it right, how they fix it, if they actually do validate a ride, or if they're going to do like previous years and just tell the people, I think you screwed up. Do you want to continue on and be listed as a finisher, or do you want to do whatever? So, yeah, I've never heard that. That's what I always thought. I'm 100% with you, Billy. I did 4, he did 6. I've never heard of that either, but I know what's happening right now. So if anybody says to me that didn't happen, then I'm going to flat out prove how it did. So that is definitely happening right now. And I've never heard of it happening. So I'm glad Billy didn't either. I thought maybe I was just out on my own. And I remember some rough times with Billy that we were up in the Northeast and Billy went ripping by me and I was going one way, pretty damn confident I knew what I was doing. And then Billy went the other way and I went, holy shit, that was Billy. And he's way better than me. I'm going with him. And I just whipped the shit. He went back and followed him. And then I caught up to him and I'm just like, I have no idea where we are, man. I am lost. I don't know where we are on the map. Like, it's going to take me an hour to get back to where I was at some point where I could kind of get going again. It was one of those deals. I tell you what, man, I would have kissed the man had he stopped. But when he finally pulled up to a stop sign, I just laughed. I said, man, I have no idea where I'm going. He was pretty sure he was right. And I had no idea. So I was going towards pretty sure. So that's how I used the rider that went past me. And then we laughed about it because he was right. And I think another previous to that had been up there in that same area or region or whatever it was, or something that was more familiar to him. And then we separated and I promptly got pulled over right after that for not quite going to a stop sign. And I got flashed the lights at the first stop sign. And then you think my smooth brain would say, stop at the next one? No. Right after he flashed me the lights first, not stopping at the one stop sign, I proceeded to go right through the second stop sign, and knowing he was sitting 100 yards away. And then he lit me up and had a few questions to me, like, why would you not stop when I just flickered the lights to you? And I didn't really have an answer, but that guy helped me out with finding out where I was because I couldn't read a map. I thought the S was a 5. I was looking for County Road 85 to take a right on, and it was County Road 8 South. So it was kind of funny because the cop told me had I stopped at the first stop sign and looked close, I would have noticed that was 8 South. So by him pulling me over, it saved me about a half an hour. But that was the same night that I hitched on to Billy's ride and rode with him for a hot minute. So that's the only help I've ever gotten is from using other riders. So I've never heard of anybody telling anybody they went the wrong way, but that's definitely happened. And I don't know, maybe they're helping people out that are further back and just, keeping them in the game. I don't really know. That's out of mine, so can't tell you anything about it, but let's get this back on the stage. I want to check a couple riders. I want to check out where Hondo is. I've been following him myself during the day every now and then. Let's see. He's in Indiana. Looks like Towns. Hey, I just went by a Taco Bell. I didn't really get dinner, so I'm kind of hungry. All right. He is right behind Yos. And I don't know if he's supposed to be. Like, I don't know where people are, but that's definitely the same road. So I'm not sure if he's where he's at in track. So who knows? That's funny as Billy. That damn S was a kicker for me as well. Yeah, that whole year, 2020, I believe, like everything. And I think that was when Riot realized he needed some glasses that were more than just cool looking for the sun. I think he needed some. I think that was the time the realization came that we need some magnifying glasses a little higher than just a one. I think I was moving to a 1.5 by then. So I don't know how old I would have been in 2020. I definitely was using readers by then. So I just think I didn't have the right magnification. So I did laugh a little bit. But there's Hondo. In case the wife is wondering what he's doing, where he's at. Let's see, who else can we check here? I want to check KGB, because KGB is one of these riders that is just quiet as hell. He don't like brag about his stuff. He just rides and rides and rides. And if you know KGB, he is on, some other platforms that monitor like Rever and things like that. And he just tears it up, just rides and rides. And he's super connected with the Bunka Biker. So I don't know. He knows so many people around the country. I would think that he does not struggle much to find a place to sleep. He probably has enough addresses pre-programmed into his phone. He's just sleeping in people's yards all the time. And he has people at his place all the time. So he's right behind Speed Racer. Right behind him, there's Marky Mark. They're just north of Houston. There's Michael Nielsen right there. We got little Susan Miller. She's about, I don't know, 5 foot nothing, tiny little thing. Rides a trike like a bat out of hell. I'm sure that trike was getting its ass whooped, when she was doing all those twisties, and now they're dealing with all the heat. But it's hot down there. I heard people complaining about the heat. It wears your ass out. And a lot of people are really finding that out exactly, how bad it does wear you out. So that's pretty cool. There, I hit a lot of those right there. Oh, another one I really wanted to check was Laura. Oops. I know she's still in it. Or her tracker is still going. So she's got a partner there. Who's she riding with? Bookie, 1205, and James, 1330. They're riding together. Somebody's right behind them. I don't know why my internet is like kind of slow here. I got my Starlink sitting in my dash, just me using it. Should be ripping it. And we got Stalker back there. But it's nice at this stage of the game that, what's the old saying? Misery needs company. And that is a lot of truth to that, because this is miserable. They're at day 12. If you've done anything like this for any kind of time frame, these people are they're on the road longer than I've ever been on the road as a Hoka Hey rider. In 2018, I finished in 11 days and some odd hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that. So the 12th day of riding, I was done. And I can't even tell you how exhausted I was. Like, it was zombie land, and my brain was fried. I was new to it. So like a lot of these riders here with the 1300 numbers, how they are. So I was just done. So when you get to day 13 like this, man, I don't know how the hell they're doing it and how the hell they can just keep going that many miles. I mean, 18, I think I did 10,600 or something, 10,400. I don't know, something like that. And that was a lot, man. That was a lot of miles. And to think that these riders are doing 1,000 more than that. And I don't know if it's more technical, less technical. I have no idea. I'm not riding this. I'm only going by what I see. But when I zoom in and I see some of those roads, I'm like, man, that reminds me of 18. We had a lot of heat, but a lot of our Western roads were kind of smooth and easy and fast. And we got warnings back then about speed. And then if you got 3 warnings, then the 4th time you'd be booted, but not like this, where if you hit, speeds, you're just out. So it's crazy. And I tell you what, when I have riders right behind me with their bright lights, it's annoying as hell. If they're way behind me, I don't mind it. But if somebody's right behind me, I tell them to kiss ass and get in the back, man. You got to back up, either past me or back up a half a mile, And I did that with some of my best friends while I was riding my ride this spring. When they're right behind you, I'll adjust my mirror so light doesn't bother me, and that's no problem. But the lights are so bright, they cast a shadow. They hit you, and it casts a shadow to whatever side. So if they're behind you on your right, you get a shadow off the front of your bike from you when they're super close. And the shadows is what drives me crazy. It makes it where I can't see that area, and it gives me a headache like I can't even take it. So when people are riding with me, I will tell them, if you're going to ride at the same pace as me, then back up or you lead the way and I'll be behind you, because I can't take it when I'm tired. And I'm tired and I'm hungry, then old hangry riot kicks in, and I'm not the most pleasant to be around. But in different challenges, I've ridden with people and I've told them I don't want to ride next to you. And I had to do that when I was wore a patch on my back, and other riders would ride with me. I'd say, look, I can't. Any other time in my life, I will ride handlebar to handlebar at 110 miles an hour, no problem. But I am 10 days in, I am 8 days, 1 day, whatever it is. I am tired, and I don't want to have a mishap of running into my own guy because something happened. You need the whole lane to move, and you can't have it where if you got to move left quick, if you have to look to see if anybody's there, time's up, you already hit them, or you hit whatever came out. You have to be able to move right there, and that's communicating with them. And these riders have to tell people that as well, and not be afraid to stand up and say, don't ride so close. There's no reason on these open roads like this. If you're riding wherever, I'll put Taco and Rob. They've been riding together for days, so I'm assuming they still are. And if they're not, it's going to be a terrible way to zoom out and see this. Use them for example. And of course they're not. I don't know where, or unless they are, and Rob, I just can't see them. Maybe they're so tight. But anyhow, my point is, when you're riding with somebody, if Taco's here and Rob's here, you're still riding together. Or maybe not that far, but here. You're still riding together. You don't have to have the guy, right in your 5 feet behind you, 10 feet behind you, where you slam on the brakes. And what I told people, I didn't want to ride with them, because if you're tight to somebody, and there's a ton of people who are and that ride. And I told people this leading into it who asked me, if you're riding with somebody and you're tight, like whatever this group is right here, I'll just zoom in because I know I can see people together. Like they're pretty tight right here. You can see that. The problem is if you're too close, let's say Tim happens to hit a deer or miss it. He misses it or hits it. Let's say he hits it. That carnage in the road of the bike down and the deer down is super hard for somebody that's behind you to miss all of that carnage that happens in a millisecond. If you think you got all kinds of time and you're like, oh, I'll react. One, your reaction time is in the shitter to begin with at this point of the game. So you got to have more backup time. And two, it's impossible to react to the unknown. A car pulls out in front of you. You see him going across. You kind of know that car is going straight. If they pull out in front of you, sure, if you go this way, you're going to all meet in the same place. But if you go behind them, they're going to pull out and you can go behind them. And people make the mistake of riding too close. And all of a sudden, a deer, they hit one or miss it. But let's say they hit it. Now that deer flies, and it might not knock the first guy out. He might have hit it and survived the impact. But now the deer is spinning around on the road, and the guy behind him, he banks left. That deer catches, spins right in front of you, wipe out. Where had you been back a half a mile, as unfortunate as it is, you can watch the carnage unfold and stop and, help somebody or, get around it and avoid it. Because sometimes the first guy hits it and is fine, but the second guy gets the impact of what's left. And it's, kind of tough. Yeah, that is the trail mentality. I can see and you can see me. We're not lost or solo. It's like, and it's fine. And if you're riding with somebody and you're together, it's one thing if you come up on somebody, you're just riding with them. But if I'm not going to overtake somebody, then I'll just back off and ride the same pace they are. We're going the same pace, whatever. If they start slowing up and I can get behind them, I'm going to get behind them and I'm going to pass them and get, around that. But this is a dangerous time because of what they've been through and what they have to go through. Like, you're 12, 13, 14 days of riding, 14 days of, sleeping outside, 14 days of the weather. There's a lot that goes through. People are missing their families. They're missing their wife, their husband, their kids, their grandkids, all the cool shit that they are really missing. It's like a kid hitting summer camp and crying because he misses his mom. Yeah, these people might not cry, but they're hitting that stage where they're missing something at home. Whatever that is, they're stressed out. They're not doing as well as they had hoped. They're happy they're doing as better than they hoped, and now they're worried about screwing it up at the end. All those things are coming into play, and it becomes very, very emotional. And because they're super tired and they're super wore out, and now all your emotions are on the edge. It's like everything is right on the edge. So whatever emotion that is, happy, they're all right on the bubble where it takes very little to get super happy. And if something happens, it takes very little to get you super sad, super mad, whatever it is. And I feel for them. I don't know the mental state after so many days. I've not done a Hokahei. I've done some other rides that were much longer. So I've been on the road that long, and it's taxing to do it, especially when you have the pressure of wanting to do well and get to the finish line. And like, Nancy's up there killing it. She knows there's no room for error. She knows that Dirty Dan is going to be catching. If she takes a nap, Dirty Dan is going to say, to hell with this, man. I'll go on 7 Red Bulls and 2 Mountain Dews and pop an aspirin and I'm good, man. Blood's thin. We're out of here. Because he knows he's only got to get to here and then he can rest. This event is every other year. So it's on the even years. They apply on the odd years. It's run on the even years. It used to be every year. And I don't even know how the hell organizers ever did that. Doing this on a yearly basis, like, you need it to be every other year, in my opinion. I don't have an estimation of when the riders are going to come in, but it's not going to be too long now. I would guess if they keep going like this, it's going to be in the middle of the night. They're going to definitely be in before sunrise if they don't stop. But some of them can dig deep. And when I was younger, I could dig deep and skip a night's sleep. That ship has sailed for me. When I run into the wall, I'm done. And it doesn't matter if I have 5 miles left or 500 left. There's nothing I can do to get through that. And my wife will tell you, there's been countless times I've been trying to get home and I just can't. And I've been in the Poconos. I've been in Maryland. I've been in South Jersey. I've literally slept at the rest area. It says, welcome to Jersey. Well, Jersey ain't too big. It's not Texas, where you got to sleep because you got a day ride on the other side. Anywhere I come into Jersey on any road, I can get to my house in an hour and a half on the interstate. And the speed limits are super high in Jersey. They're not posted high, but they're super high. You can ride 80, 90 miles an hour and nobody's going to bother you going those speeds ever. If you're doing 80 miles an hour, you're going to get passed by a trooper on the parkway. So Jersey's got lower posted, but they don't enforce that at all. So it's just fun to watch, and everybody's different. Dirty Dan is a beast. He's a fit dude. He's a young dude. He rides a bike that takes a man to ride it. If you swap bikes and I took Dirty Dan's bike, I would, it'd be safe to say I would probably be in Texas somewhere right now. Like, I would be over here. Same bike, and we swapped, I'd be probably in Oklahoma somewhere, that far behind. I wouldn't even be to Mississippi, be all that, because that's an ass-beaten bike. It's a different game. It has huge, massive advantages to the right people. But if if people say, oh, if I had Dirty Dan's bike, I would win this thing. If I had a Pan Am, I could win it. But I have an Indian, or I have a Harley, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, the bullshit. In the right hands, it's a tool that and a weapon that is very good. But it's like giving Chris Kyle a sniper rifle, and he hits a bullseye at 1,000 meters. Somebody says, oh, if I had Chris Kyle's rifle, I could hit 1,000-meter shot too. That's not true. It takes the right person to do it as well. So it's kind of fun to watch this. Everything has their advantages, disadvantages, and sleep and the ability to push that little bit, that much, for another 6 hours, another 3 hours, another 5, whatever it's going to take. It's going to be exciting to see. And, I really think you're going to see a bunch of trackers heading towards Woodstock tomorrow, because I just don't see how anybody that is coming through here, when you're coming through Missouri and you're heading down here, that's not, you have just left the halfway point in this many days. They're going to know how many days that's going to take them to finish. And I just don't see that many people having that kind of time. And it may be, they may have that kind of time. It's, good. I don't know, but I just don't see it. So I think people are going to bail, because this came out of not nowhere. The other ones there have been Hokahays very long, 14,000 miles, 13,000 miles. Riders were finishing it in 21 days, 28 days. And that's the truth. But the last few have been relatively short and relatively easy. And I think, kind of 2020 with COVID, they rerouted that. But 22, I didn't think it was overly complicated, and there was a lot of technical riding in places, but this had a lot of technical riding. These poor bastards were technical for a lot of it, and I was like, damn, like there was just relentless no break when you got through Jersey all the way through Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia. I mean, that's just relentless, hard technical roads where it's hard. And you really got to be in tune with your bike. And there's some people in Texas who don't ride a lot of twisties. I'm fortunate. I live on the East Coast. There's a lot of twisties that I practiced on, a lot of twisties I rode on for fun. But when I was going to do my first Hokahay, I had the Poconos in my backyard. I had Tail the Dragon, a day's ride away. I had all of the Northeast, upstate New York, a half a day ride. I trained on crazy curvy roads on a fully loaded bike. And some people don't have that opportunity. If you're in Oklahoma, it's a long ways to go. Texas, it's a long ways to go to get to really twisted roads that you can go train on for days upon days. And, it's hard, English is, I saw that and I reached out to him to ask him how it was going. And, he's got to get used to that Pan Am. He's a beast of a rider. He's a dude who, I mean, his mental end of it, I will never question in a million years. There's nothing he's ever going to not overcome mentally. Physically and the bike, that's another story. But mentally, that dude there's nothing he can't overcome. And there's just people like that. And I think, he is not going to do that. So mentally, he's like, I got to go. And he chose to get the Pan Am for a reason. I mean, they have other bikes for sale at Ocean State. They didn't go through so many bikes on this challenge that they were running out of Harleys to sell at the dealership. So they were doing good. Another shout out to those guys too that were really killing it over there with riders. I caught a couple of the videos they were posting. So if you go to their Facebook page, you can see them coming in. So that's kind of cool to see. So I just want to tell everybody, stay tuned. Know what not only these riders are going through. It's super fun to watch the people come in that are going to win it. And that's super badass. But some of these people are made for this shit. They are made for Jos. Nancy, Dirty Dan, Pee Wee, they're built for this. Man, their bikes, their bodies, everything they do, they've practiced, they are built for this. But there's a lot of people out here that are not built for what they're doing. They are pushing their mind and their body well past any limits they even knew they had. And that's a story that is pretty cool to be told, because somewhere out here in this sea of people that you're looking at, and to a newcomer, they're like, oh God, those guys are way behind. They must really, really be, really suck. Some of these riders are some of the best riders I've ever known. So whatever got them to here, it's because they're amongst such good riders that even though somebody's here and might win this thing and be super badass, people like, holy shit, look what they did in 13 days, 12 days, whatever the case is. Somebody down here, this route coming in 18 days is epic as well. So, these riders that are all through here, there's Pop Off right here. Like, there's a rider, like, she's like no joke. Raindrop, another one, just a beast of a rider. She was coming down, and some of these are going up and some of these are coming down and then heading back up the other way after coming down the trace. So Raindrop is not in the same place as these. She's headed up here. But here is Soup, Mark Campbell. I'm sure he's ridden an Indian or a Harley, but he is not a V-twin guy. He is a BMW rider. And all of a sudden, a week or two before the Hokahe, a week, I think, he buys an Indian and takes off to ride 11,000 miles on a bike that he hasn't spent any time on. It's really something. And yeah, if anybody's thinking about doing it, they should start training now. And I never stopped. I would train all the time. Every time I rode, I would have that bike loaded down. The off years, I was working on things, working on mapping, working on going to the bathroom, the simplest things. How can I save the stops? And it comes down to all mental. Every one of these riders, when they go back and look at their trackers and see what the difference was, why they're here instead of here, it's going to come down to their stop times. They're going to look and they're going to find out, God, every time I stopped for 10 minutes. You might need gas every 150 miles, every 125 if you're not sure there's gas stations. So now you add up all those stops that you took 10, 15 minutes because you let the mind be tricked into, yeah, I got to stop. I got to stay here. I got to cool off. I got to do this. I got to do that. You let the mind overtake the body instead of making the body overtake the mind. And the mind tells you, I want to stay here for 10 minutes. And you overtaking it saying, no, we don't roll like that. We're doing 3-minute gas stops on these days. And then once a day, twice a day, you stop. But the stops are killers. And that's what, and now the course of 12 days, you can be a day to 2 days ahead of somebody just because of your stops. And when you zoomed in on Yost at the beginning, the middle, and even now on the end, his stops are stop, gas. You can tell he might go in for something or he didn't, but boom, they're gone again. They're stopping at a checkpoint. All right, let's sign it. Let's get our pictures taken. Boom, they're gone again. A lot of people let the mind override it. And they're like, oh, let's stop, hugs, high fives. Let's go in and get something to drink. Let's sit down and get in the air conditioning. Oh, that feels so good. All right, now let's go again. Hour later, oh, it's so hot, man. That air conditioning felt so good. And once you start doing that, you've already mentally checked out. You just haven't come to terms with it yet. So now you're just rolling along, but mentally you're checked out of the Hokahe. You're no longer doing the Hokahe. You're doing a guided tour of the South. And because you mentally are out of it, you just haven't come to terms with how you're going to tell your family, your friends, your coworkers that you tapped out. But a lot of people tap out long before they make it official. And when they look back on it and they do some self-reflection, they realize it. And that's why you see people that come there for their second time, third time, and they're just totally different riders because they did that reflection and been like, oh shit, I really got to work on this. And that's what they're working on. That's what they're training on. Yes, 100%, Kevin. I've said this before. I've said this in talks. I've said it in classes. Anything I've helped somebody with, I think military people have stupid advantages because you don't get through basic training in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force. You do, because that's more of a high five and hugs. But I'm only kidding, Air Force people. It's because I was in the Army. But you don't get through basic training without them breaking you. They break your brain to build you up. And that's what they do. They do the same thing in police academies. My son just went to an academy. I told him, I said, they're going to break you down to build you up. It's the same military tactics they do. And when you come out the other end, you're just convinced you don't give a shit. Whatever it is, embrace the suck. Anybody that's in the military has definitely heard embrace the suck. Oh, look, we're going to the field. We're going to be in the field for 2 weeks and it's going to rain the whole time. Well, suck it up. You're not getting out of it. So let's go, and that's, I'm not even talking about combat. Now you're talking about putting somebody in combat. Oh, if you quit, yeah, you can stop here. We can stop and wait for, water to show up, food to show up, but you're going to get your asses shot off. Your buddy's going to get killed, or you can stay in the fight and stay mentally in it, regardless if there's food, water, and sleep. So the military dudes, hands down, have an advantage. And anybody who thinks they don't is because they weren't in the military and they think they're as tough as the dude who was. And that comes back to English. English is a military dude. You look at Jug, military guy, and they just don't have, quit is not in their vocabulary. They might have to stop doing something because of a work commitment or something like that, but they won't quit because they can't take it. That'll never happen. They'll literally, English will die on this route before he quits, without a doubt. I'm not saying he's not going to go home because he's got a work commitment, but he will never tap out and say, I can't do this, so I'm done. My body's done. It rained on me for 6 days. He'll show up naked on his bike because it was too inconvenient to wear wet clothes. His feet hurt, whatever, but he'll show up, and that's one of 30 that are in here. I would really love to know at this field right here how many are veterans. Rolo, like, she got a ticket. She ain't quitting. She don't give a shit. She's like, I'm going. Military. Like, she doesn't know how to stop. It's like, just go. And yeah, 100%. Like, and a lot of people can relate to that because their childhood wasn't much different than basic training. I had a dad and a mom that they didn't take any shit. They didn't care about what the excuse was. You're going to bale this hay. Doesn't matter what's going on. It's 100 degrees. We got to get it baled. Well, I got plans, they don't care. You're going to do it. And that forms a mindset that it doesn't matter. This has to be done. It doesn't matter what you come across. You break a bone. All right, man, I'll tape that thing up. Oh, look, I'm hurt. Like, I remember being mad at my dad when I was a kid and how happy I was as an adult. How much I hated basic training and how much I loved it when it was done. All those things build character, make you a little mentally tougher than you knew you could be. And that translates to so much shit through life. And that's why some sports do the same damn thing. You look at wrestlers. Wrestlers are the toughest sons of bitches there are because you make a mistake, it's over with. You're on the mat, you make a mistake, you're done. You don't have a teammate to blame. You don't have if Johnny would have got more hits, we'd have won that baseball game. Wrestlers, man, like, you make a mistake, 2 seconds later, the other dude's getting his hand raised and you feel like shit. So there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, hit a bear and he's back in the challenge. And not just a bear, in 2024, he hit a moose. So he's an exotic wildlife rammer. A lot of people are, hit deer and the main things, but he hits like cool stuff. I don't know where their 2030 challenge is going to be or 2028. But I'm guessing if there's a giraffe in the road, that son of a bitch is going to hit it. So you better get ready. And it's going to be a tail. He won't hit anything, or be a jaguar or something exotic. And everybody else goes, damn. So, 24, somebody hit a gator. Still the best story. But a moose is right there. And English is like a cockroach of the motorcycle world. You can't kill the son of a bitch. Like, no matter what you do, he's just going to get up, brush the blood off, put a new jacket on, and get back after it. So maybe it change his name to Cockroach after this one and be pretty good. But let's see. Yeah, they should have a safari ride. That'd be pretty funny. All right. Yes, mindset is critical. That is 100% it. And that comes down to so much that how Blackie was super involved. He still is. He was not here this year. I don't even know why, but Blackie's not there. But he was so adamant in my early days of how it will test you mentally, and you're going to learn stuff about yourself during the Hokahe. And some of those things you might not like. And that doesn't mean that you're going to stay like that forever. That just means that you found out some things you don't like, and you got to look in the mirror and say, that's on me. I did that. And it sucks. And I tell you what, it's hard. You're not going to look in the mirror when you're 2 days removed from this. It's 6 months removed where you realize that, shit, man, like, yeah, all right, man, the directions were bad, but, I could have done way better. I could have done this. I could have done that, and not even put myself in the position to that 100 miles would have even mattered. At the end of the day, you do something wrong and something's 100 miles out of 11,000. Is it really that 100 miles that made the difference that you lost? It could have been the 73 gas stops that you decided to have a cigarette and chill out. You decided to sit in the beer cooler down south and cool off. There's a million things. So it's just, the way it is. So it's fun to watch, but everybody has their own story, their own journey, and a tale to tell when it's done. And some of them you have no idea. I don't know all these riders. I know a lot of them, but I don't know all of them by any means. And especially a lot of these high numbered, 1300s. They're new people, new to the game. I don't know them that well. But I used to judge a little heavier and say, all right, here's somebody way back here. All right, if you can't get to that, if you're not to the checkpoint by this day, like, you have no business being here, and you shouldn't even ever sign up for it. And that may be the case for some people. I have no idea, but I'll find out stories about why somebody's doing something, or why they're behind. Health issues, family issues, something happened. They're riding for somebody. It was so emotional they couldn't ride, the whole time. So some of it is not because they're just not made for this. They have another story. They're battling breast cancer. They're battling prostate cancer. They have, a rare disease that they got diagnosed with. Everybody has a story, and somebody might have to tap out, and you're like, oh man, they tapped out, and you think they're kind of a pussy. And then you find out this heat affects them because of this. And then you feel like, oh shit, that was pretty judgy, So I try not to be like that, but it's so hard because I think that everybody, however you are, you just think everybody else is like that. So how you look at something, you're like, you think they see it the same way, and it's just not the case. Everybody's got their own journey, their own vision of what's right, wrong, or indifferent. And what I think is super wrong and you should be punched in the face, other people think, well, that's not so bad. And things I think nothing about, somebody else is looking at it like, that dude should get punched in the face for that. So, it's all relative. I know one thing, that no matter what your skill set is, no matter what you do, if you got the balls to line up and say, I'm going to give this a try, then you've already are a step ahead of 95% of the people out there. And if you can finish this, and I'm not talking about finish it right behind Nancy, right behind Dirty Dan, Yos, or Pee Wee, or in front of them, behind them, in the middle of them, whatever. I'm not talking about that. But if you can just finish it, at any time frame, that's a hell of an accomplishment. So as these people get near the end, get 3,000 miles away, they may decide to tap, they may decide to keep going. But if they do keep going and they're your family, the world's going to start to wind down and stop following as tight. They're not going to be as dedicated to looking at trackers after the winners come in, but keep after them to ride their ride, do their journey, because at the end of the day, they're just going to say, I was a finisher in 2026. No one ever asked what place. I've done 4 Hoka Hays. Nobody's ever said to me, oh, Ryan, man, what place did you come in? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. If you're Billy and you're a beast and you're the true champion, people will remember that without a doubt. But anything after that, you come in, you're just a finisher. And you're going to remember what place, or usually remember what place you come in. But at the end of the day, it won't matter. And I guarantee you, a lot of these riders right now, especially these 1,300 people, 1,200 that have never ridden in one, I guarantee you right now, they couldn't give 2 shits about what place they come in. They know 100 people already tapped out. So if 100 people tap out, that means there's 175 left that are still giving it their all, and they know they're above that. So it's pretty impressive, whatever reason. If they got the time and they're doing it, then nice job on them, and they may be forgotten about on Facebook, social media, all that stuff, YouTube, as the winners have been across for days. But you'll hear stories about something that happened to somebody 5 days after the winners are already, they might be home already. Nancy and Dirty Dan and Pee Wee and Yost, they might already ride all the way home, go to the party, hang out, and ride all the way home. And there'll be people still out there mingling around on the road and working their way to the finish line, battling their own personal journey, whatever that is. And some of them, like I say, might be because they're no good and they can't ride for shit. But other ones, if you're giving it 100% and their 100% makes it take 21 days, and so be it. And this is a crazy technical road, so it's not going to be easy. 11,000 miles, it might take people 21 days to get it done, and they're going to be super proud they did it. And I'll be proud of them as well, because I'm sitting in an air-conditioned F-250, judging how well they're doing. I don't know. Seems a little off. I should at least sit out in the damn sun all day and then if I'm going to judge, so it's all good. Yes. Patrick, this is the first time they've split the group and gone opposite courses. I guess the jury's still up in the air. If that is good, bad, or indifferent, I don't have any idea. From a organizer standpoint, I think it's smart, because they have the start, the middle, and the end at the same place. They can stay hunkered into one place. They get riders coming in. From a rider's standpoint, I think if you knew ahead of time, it would be kind of cool, because you could leave shit at the middle and go to a checkpoint, come back. You don't have to carry as much stuff with you. If you knew you're going north, I would be, if it was me, I'd have different sleeping gear. I'd have all kinds of different shit. So if I knew I was heading north, I'd have sleeping bag A. If you're heading down to Texas, guess what? You don't need big old cushy sleeping bag like you do in the UP of Michigan. And that's night and day. So that part would be kind of nice. And I mean, as they took off, hand you the directions, you could have it sitting there ready to go with your wife, your husband, whatever. So that part would be kind of nice. From a spectator, strictly a spectator, holy shit, it's a pain in the ass. From a spectator, that's what I think. I think it's gone. I think look at this. This is just batshit crazy. And I know a ton of these people, and a lot of these people are friends. Like, I look right here and I see 15 people. I have their cell phone numbers too. I could just send them a text and be like, what the hell, man? Are you going that way or that way? And I'm not bothering them when they're out riding. But once they get intertwined like this, man, it's just hard. And I'm following it every day. I'm doing 2 shows a day. I've been super busy, so I'm not sitting here with the tracker wide open and staring at them. Oh, okay, there they go. Oh, showtime. And then talking about it. I'm not that guy. I'm pulling this up and learning some things right with you guys at the same exact time. I just have a little experience with trackers and understand some of these riders so I can interpret it a little bit. So that's all. But it's pretty fun. Um, I think it's crazy hard to follow it as a spectator. I mean, I am a spectator, and I think it's crazy hard, and I know a lot what's going on. So, uh, but I don't know. Somebody had an idea. I wish this was my idea, but it wasn't. I wish they could have just colored all the riders yellow for one group and red for the other. That would have made it a little bit better instead of letting the riders pick them. I guess that would have helped somewhat. Just with Mile Monsters, I wish I would have thought of that beforehand and told everybody, make all of yours a color that nobody's going to have, whatever that is. Pick something odd and, something. I don't even know what, but do something with it so we could just zoom in on Mile Monsters and be like, oh, okay, here's another one of the kids riding for somebody. And speaking of which, I want to see where Len is. He is in Oklahoma. That's nice. Nice temperature, like all brown and nasty. He's taking a break out there for sure, cooling off. I want to see if there's anybody else. Oh, Hyde was another one I wanted to see. Hyde's up in Connecticut. So if everybody remembers Hyde, if you're new to this, Hyde I think this is his third, let's see. I think this is fourth Hokahe. But his first one, he started on a modern bike. Every other time, he was attempting it on a hardtail. 2020, he tried it and failed. 22, he tried it and failed on the hardtail, but then he bought the bike he's on right now. And then in 24, he made it to the finish line on a hardtail. So I think that he should have been a champion of some kind for doing that. And that was pretty badass. But now he's out there doing it again. And I don't know. I have a hard time. Which way are these guys going? Hooch isn't moving. So that's not a good sign when you're at a tow in recovery. So I don't know if anything happened to Hooch, but I hope not. But anyhow, that's about it. I am out of here. Sun's setting. I got to go. Been on much longer than I had planned, but there was a lot of stuff to cover. Stay tuned. If they come in, we might throw a show on tomorrow. I'm meeting Chad, and we're taking a ride to Illinois tomorrow morning. So I'll be on the road, so maybe I'll stop and just do a quick show and cover people coming in. But watch them come in, cheer these people on. They've been through things that all of us will never, ever quite understand 100%. We might get it 90%, especially a lot of riders who have ridden might understand it 90, 95%, but the average Joe is never going to understand exactly what they went through out on the road. You just can't grasp it unless you're one of them, and they'll share these with their battle buddies who are all out there right now. So to all the riders out there, good luck. Stay safe tonight. You are nearing the end. Nothing worse than getting, right to the Illinois border and getting a speeding ticket there. Right to the Illinois border and your bike breaking down. So, pray for these people that everything goes smooth and nice. And to Teeter, if you're still on here, give your beautiful wife a hug for me. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow at some point. And then we'll get everybody caught up at noon. I'll definitely be on the road at noon. We'll stop and get something rolling and have a good chat about this, that, and the other thing. And if we get it late tomorrow night, past 7, we might do a show at midnight called Teeter Time. So if there's a special Teeter Time edition and you see it popping up, you're going to want to tune in to see, because that's going to be quality celebration of the riders and all that good stuff. So I'm having fun with it, Teeter. I won't put you on there, I promise. Just like Hydro didn't get put on the air with his underwear. So we're all good. So I thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing anything and everything Mile Monsters related, because at the end of the day, we're just trying our best to promote these riders, because these riders are promoting Mile Monsters Inc. They're out there raising money to help our 7 heroes live their best life. And that's including buying accessible vans, sending them on trips. Right now, we're getting tickets to SeaWorld for some of the boys. So that's just some of the things we do. And I really appreciate everybody who shares what we got going on. This story, it brings people to know what we do and why we do it. And the Hokahe is how it all started. And I like to promote the Hokahe because of that. I feel like I owe it a little something. It changed my life, and it's going to change somebody that you're looking at that screen. Their life after this event will never be the same. So with that, I am out of here. Have a good night. I'm already looking forward to tomorrow because it's going to be exciting times. Peace.